Building Your Temple, Neville Goddard, 1967. Be the builder of your own sacred temple, meaning your consciousness. Before we continue, please like this video so that it reaches as many people as possible. Subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell to be alerted when a new video is posted. Help strengthen our channel to continue bringing light into the lives of others, just as we do in yours. Share your gratitude in the comments. In the present moment, someone is treading the path of hatred and unrestrained thoughts. Perhaps, sitting in a dungeon tonight, someone is stepping into the battlefield, and a young boy in the field, captivated by the idea, aspires to be a hero, dreaming of becoming a great general commanding the destruction of the world. William Blake, in his poem The Four Zoas, A Dream of Nine Nights, speaks of the fall of God into division and his resurrection into unity. His descent into generation, decay, and death, and his resurrection into the unity of a father. Associating his poem with Ephesians 6 verse 12, he states that we wrestle not against flesh and blood but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Thus, we see that the fall into division and the resurrection into unity are mental from start to finish. The Bible speaks of a specific temple being built, and every day, we are constructing our temple for the dwelling of God the Father. In Ephesians chapter 2, we are informed that the entire structure is joined together, transforming into a sacred temple in the Lord, in which you are also included as a living structure of God in the Spirit. In other words, as you build your structure and I build mine, we are fitted together as living stones in God's construction. Let me explain this with a story I heard last week. A lady, who recently had a young child, shared her dream. In the dream, she has three people: herself, a man, and a green puppy. As herself, she longs for a green puppy. As the man, she becomes another, seeing her dog standing among the others, shining like the sun. She realizes that all she needs to do is wait for its arrival. In the dream, she is always the sender. When something needs to be told, she tells another that she is me, and then she becomes another to retell the story to the third, becoming the third, saying to the second to tell the first. As the third person speaking, she hears the message like the second and tells herself as the first, "The puppy is yours now." As the first person, her puppy disappears, and she looks at the many new buildings being constructed. She remembers that her building is completed, and all she needs to do is turn around to claim it. When her baby cries and wakes her up, the vision seems meaningless, but it holds tremendous significance. The shining green puppy represents drinking from the scriptures. The one who leads is the one who accompanies Joshua to the promised land. In the story, Caleb, having faith in the God who promised lands to Israel, was sent by Moses along with other spies to Canaan. Upon returning, Caleb said to attack immediately, but the men who feared were afraid. So only the two, who lead, Joshua being the Hebrew form of the word Jesus, entered her dream. She awaits a green puppy. The word green in this dream signifies bursting with sap, luscious health. Full of faith in the God who promised the land to Israel, highly recommended to lead. Only two can enter, others were with the dog, and others will find it, for she is not the only one entering the promised land. Now, as the one waiting for her companion, God as the third, the second is informed and tells the first that the dog is now hers. The experience repeats as she once again becomes the sender, the narrator, but she is never the receiver, for God only acts and is in existing beings or men. Now, as the first person, she realizes the puppy has disappeared because she has already entered the promised land. Seeing the fabulous construction underway, she is reminded that her building is completed, and all she needs to do is turn around and see. There are two passages in the scriptures, one in Acts 12 and the other in Luke 15, where the Greek word ophenes is translated as "he came to himself." In Luke, these words were spoken about the prodigal son, and in Acts, Peter was arrested and chained. His clothes were sold, and he was alone in the cell when the angel of the Lord entered, touched him, and when he rose, it is said, he came to himself. Now, this word ophenes could have been translated as "he turned around, it is finished, he is married." She hears the words, "All you need to do is turn around." Turn, and you will see the finished structure as a living stone. You have now contributed to the overall structure, which is the temple of the living God. I know from personal experience that everyone contributes to that living stone called the kingdom of heaven. You will be turned by a force greater than anything known to man, but this will not happen until the end. You cannot physically turn yourself, nor can you force the mind to do so. Blake tells us God divided, and this lady divided into three. Now, reaching the end of the journey, when the force holding you in this world is relieved, you will turn to see the structure your Father built. And you will know that you or he, your temple was not built by another. He who began a good work in you will complete it on the day of Jesus Christ. Who is he? I am he who began the good work in you. I have tried you in the furnaces of affliction for my own sake. I do it for my own sake, for how should my name be profaned? I will not give my glory to another. Your journey is at an end, my dear. You have had the perfect vision. Your building is completed, and all you need to do is turn around. This will come at the end, for if you turn now, it will disappear, for, as Paul, you have fought the good fight. Let no one tell you Paul was exaggerating, it is a fight, for we are not wrestling with flesh and blood in the present moment. Someone is treading on the vat of hatred, and unbridled thoughts are sent on the wings of feelings. Perhaps, seated in a dungeon tonight, someone is treading on the winepress of war, and a little boy in the field grabs the idea, wanting to be a hero just by becoming a great general commanding the destruction of the world. He is dreaming, and you cannot stop his dream. So, you are not warring against flesh and blood but against principalities, against powers, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And heaven is within, inside your mind. These abominable and repulsive beings are carved, they are invisible pits imposing themselves upon you morning, noon, and night. What a thrill to receive a letter of this nature, the construction is complete. She now knows she only commands. She gave the order, saw herself as another receiving, but when the message is to be retold, she once again becomes the storyteller. And when it is to be experienced, she will be the one to live it. Then God only acts and isn't existing beings or men, for God is playing all the roles. In the end, everyone brings their living temple home to God. Ephesians tells us how the structure is united, and the sacred temple grows in the Spirit. It is a spiritual time, not in this world. The scripture calls the church the body of Christ, but the word translated as church is the communion of the assembly of the redeemed. It is the assembly of those whose construction is complete, playing the role of the receiver. We are the builder, finding you as Joshua, who is Jesus, being led to the promised land as the scriptures are fulfilled, having shone like the sun to guide you. The one who leads disappears, leaving only Jesus. And who is Jesus? Your wonderful human imagination. Now let me tell another story. 3 years ago, in a dream, this lady saw a man who embodied everything she could desire. They fell in love, and an engagement was announced. Thinking she was awake, she put on her nightgown and withdrew, hoping he would join her. But upon entering the room, the man shook his head and said, "Not yet, but I will return this month." The same man returned and indicated by his look that they came to fulfill the promise of marriage. I can tell her that, although it has not been fulfilled, she had the perfect revelation of what is coming for her. She now has the assurance that I will return, receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. All this is beautiful symbolism. This lady is not about to marry in our world with a flesh and blood man of such magnitude. No, he is the symbol of the being spoken of in Isaiah. Her creator is her husband, the Lord of hosts is his name. The promise is being kept in her, and one day she will turn within herself and become the living temple of the resurrected Lord. I saw the temple when I left the relative era, entering a completely different era. Like Paul, it is my desire to depart and be with Christ, but it is more important at the moment to encourage you, even if you are struggling against principalities, powers of darkness, and all the horrors of the world. But I saw the building being constructed for you, not by someone else, but by your deepest self, which is God the Father. In 1952, while living in New York City, I had a thirst that only the experience of God could quench. like a deer panting for water, so I pant for you, O God. Then one night, out of nowhere, I found myself fulfilling Psalm 42. I remember these things as I pour out my soul, as it was with the multitude, leading them in procession to the house of God. On that night, I found myself leading a massive procession toward the house of God. It was still a distance away, but as I led them, a voice said, I am, and God walks with them. A woman beside me questioned the voice, asking, if God walks with us, where is he? The voice replied, beside you, looking at me. Seeing a man of flesh and blood, she said, do you mean Neville is God? The voice answered, yes. In the act of awakening. Then the voice spoke only to me, saying, I lay down within you to sleep. While I slept, I had a dream. I dreamed, and suddenly I knew he was dreaming that it was me. At that moment, the memory returned, and I became 6 voices feeling entering my hands, my feet, my head, and my side. It was then that I knew the ecstasy of crucifixion. Paul, in his letter to the Romans, divided the times, saying, if we unite with him in a death like his, we shall certainly be united with him in a resurrection like his. The crucifixion has already passed, he chose us in him before the foundation of the world. If this is true, then the universal Christ has given himself to us. He said, no man takes my life, I lay it down. I have the power to lay it down and the power to lift it up again. And we lie with him because he chose us in him before the foundation of the world. So, if you are united with him in a death like his, you will certainly be united with him in a resurrection like his. I know this to be true because he resurrected in me, confirming the story of the scriptures. This is how the structure is refined and grows in God. And when the final curtain descends, and the temple is perfect, you will be God the Father, and I will be God the Father, but neither of us will lose our identity. Now I ask you to continue testing your creative power by practicing revision. If you hear something unpleasant, do not accept it, revise it immediately. Hear the words that should have been spoken and convince yourself to the best of your ability that it is so. What would it matter if you owned the world tonight but left tomorrow to find yourself working as a fry cook, serving donuts? Live your life fully while you're here, but remember, you cannot take your money with you. So, enjoy the things of this world and apply this marvelous law to yourself and others because imagining truly creates reality. Remember, you are not fighting against flesh and blood but against principalities, powers, darkness of the rulers of this world, and spiritual evil in heavenly places. One day, you, who fell into division, will resurrect in unity. Now, let's move into silence. I hope this content has been valuable to you, and you have benefited from it. My goal with this channel is to help you thrive financially, and it all starts in the mind, of course. But I always emphasize that action is also necessary. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe to help strengthen our channel and continue bringing light to the lives of many people, just like yours. A big hug, and until the next video.